Early morning, open ground, winter silence broken by engines pushing hard through mud and half-frozen soil. A Russian armored column moves forward under heavy clouds, tracks cutting deep lines into the road. Snow from the night before still clings to the fields on both sides. Visibility is poor, and that feels like protection. Inside the vehicles, crews believe the storm above has done its job. Rain, low clouds, distorted sensors. Ukrainian drones, they assume, can't see through this. The column stretches forward anyway. No stops, no hesitation. Momentum matters. But this isn't a charge toward contact. It's a transit, a routine push meant to position armor for the next phase of the offensive. No one expects a fight here. Not yet. What the crews don't know is that the battlefield has already been decided above them. Because while the column moves blindly beneath the clouds, someone else is waiting, watching the weather, watching the gaps, measuring time. And when the sky changes, everything else follows. This column didn't exist by accident. By late 2024, Russian commanders were under pressure. Traditional armored assaults were failing long before reaching Ukrainian defensive lines. Tanks were spotted early. Columns were tracked from kilometers away. Artillery and FPV drones destroyed them before contact was even possible. So doctrine shifted. Armor wasn't abandoned, but it was reorganized. Heavier protection, tighter formations. Support vehicles like the BMPT Terminator, designed specifically to defend tanks against infantry and drones. Twin 30mm cannons, automatic grenade launchers, integrated radar and electronic warfare coverage. On paper, it looked like an answer. And then there was the weather. Low clouds and winter rain mattered. Ukrainian drones rely on visibility, stable air, and clean signal paths. Heavy storms interfere with optics and radio links. Russian planners knew this. They watched forecasts as closely as Ukrainian operators did. The idea was simple. Move during the storm. Use rain and cloud cover as camouflage. Let the armor cross exposed ground while drones were grounded or blinded. Once in position, dig in. Bring up infantry. Prepare the next push. It wasn't reckless. It was calculated. But it depended on one assumption. That weather still controlled the sky. What Russian planners failed to account for was how much the drone war had evolved. Ukrainian teams were no longer reacting to targets as they appeared. They were predicting movement, tracking weather windows, preparing strikes before the first vehicle ever rolled. And when the storm began to break, even briefly, that assumption collapsed. Because this time, Ukraine wasn't waiting for perfect conditions. It was waiting for just enough. Preparation begins long before the convoy appears. Ukrainian drone teams are already in place, spread across concealed winter positions on higher ground. Engines cold, batteries warmed inside jackets, screens glowing faintly inside dugouts. No launches yet, just watching. The storm starts to shift, clouds thin in narrow bands. Visibility improves by seconds, not minutes. For most forces, it means nothing. For drone operators, it means everything. This is the window. FPV teams don't need a clear sky. They need a corridor, a thin slice of air stable enough for speed and control. As the rain weakens, the first calculations are made. Distances, headwinds, battery margins. The convoy keeps moving. Mud forces the vehicles into a tighter formation. Speed drops at the same points. The route becomes predictable. From above, the column isn't fast, it's patterned. Then the decision is made. Launch now, or lose the chance entirely. Propellers spin up. One drone lifts, then another, then dozens more. Different altitudes, different angles, one synchronized wave. Once they commit, there's no recall. The point of no return has passed. The convoy never hears them coming. The first drones drop through the thinning cloud layer at full speed. Low, fast, silent until the last moment. Turrets begin to move, but too late. Impact. One drone slams into the lead vehicle's engine deck. Fire erupts. The column breaks hard. Spacing collapses instantly. 8 seconds. That's all it takes. Drones pour through the gaps. Not random, selected targets, turret rings, rear doors, engine vents. Each strike is deliberate, placed where armor is weakest. Airburst fire fills the sky. Explosions bloom above the road. Smoke, fragmentation, noise. But the swarm keeps descending. Gaps open faster than they can be closed. Another impact, then another. Vehicles lose power. One stalls sideways, blocking the road. Others try to turn off, but the ground is soaked. Tracks spin. Machines sink. The center of the column is burning now. Secondary explosions ripple down the line. Ammunition cooks off. Flames spread from hull to hull. What was movement becomes blockage. What was protection becomes confinement. The defense collapses not because it lacked firepower, but because it lost timing. By the time the last drones strike, the column is no longer fighting. It's trapped. This wasn't a failure of bravery. It was a failure of design. On paper, the Russian column had answers. BMPT Terminator vehicles, layered air defense, electronic warfare coverage, radar support, firepower meant to overwhelm small threats. But none of it was built for this. FPV swarms don't challenge armor head-on. They attack systems, timing, coordination, human reaction limits. The BMPT's 30mm cannons can track fast targets, but only a few at once. When two turrets divide their arcs, gaps form. The drones don't fight the cannons. They wait for those gaps. Electronic warfare detected the signals. Radar located the operators. Artillery responded. All of that worked, too slowly. Each layer acted in sequence, not simultaneously. That delay mattered. Ukraine exploited it. Handoffs between drone teams kept the swarm alive while Russian fire chased empty positions. By the time coordinates were accurate, the drones were already past the point of interception. Cost tells the story. Each FPV drone, a few $100s. Each armored vehicle, millions. Each crew, years of training. The exchange rate was brutal. Once the first vehicle stopped, the doctrine collapsed. Columns depend on flow. When movement breaks, armor becomes stationary targets stacked on a single road. This wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about seeing first and striking when reaction was no longer possible. This ambush didn't change the map, but it changed the math. For decades, ground warfare rewarded speed. Move fast, accept losses, break through anyway. That logic shaped doctrine, vehicles, and training across the world. That era is ending. What happened here proves a new rule. Movement without information is exposure. Once the low sky is controlled, speed doesn't protect, it reveals. Every route becomes predictable. Every pause becomes data. Every reaction arrives too late. Ukraine didn't win this engagement with heavier armor or superior numbers. It won with patience, visibility, timing. FPV swarms turned seconds into weapons and forced million-dollar systems to respond on a human timescale they couldn't match. Russia now faces a dilemma with no clean solution. Slow columns suffer attrition under constant surveillance. Fast columns become patterns waiting to be dismantled. Even the most advanced armored platforms struggle when information arrives faster than commands. And this lesson doesn't stop in Ukraine. Militaries everywhere are watching. Infantry tactics, convoy doctrine, air defense design, all are being rewritten in real time by cheap drones and coordinated operators. This is what modern warfare looks like. Not louder, not faster, but smarter. If you want to understand how drones, surveillance, and timing are reshaping battlefields right now, subscribe to Military Grid. We break down the fights that don't always make headlines, but decide wars. Because in today's war, the side that waits decides.